So to begin with the event, firstly I'd like to thank Sudarshan for taking time off this Saturday, and every one of us being here. Thank you so much for especially taking time on a Saturday when it's expected to be with family or something else, and being a part of this, supporting the ecosystem with your inputs. So I'll give a quick introduction about Sudarshan. And so Sudarshan currently represents MTD Products, which is a US-based company, as a managing director for the Indian region. And he also represents the South Asia region as director for MTD Products. He's been a board member for multiple multinational companies such as Strachi Group, Texas, AS, and quite a few others in India, helping with corporate planning, startup foundation, product management, strategic sourcing, and partnerships, as well as a lot more other features. There's a lot more that I can actually share about Sudarshan, but since we really want to hear from Sudarshan here and not me, let me ask Sudarshan to give a quick brief about what he does, and we can start from there.
I'm going to start this off in a very different way. I would request all, please close your own eyes. Okay, we spend about 15 seconds in reverence to our parents, elders, guru, and try to clean up the whiteboard in your mind. Thank you so much. What in your view is the most basic needs of a human being? Can anyone answer this question? Well, I see a lot of technology. Today we're all, wound ourselves up with so much technology around us. Do we still remember our basics? Internet. Right. I think we're all there, yes. I wouldn't ask the agriculture people, so they Alright, so I think their roti, kapra, or your food and your shelter are external to your body, whereas food is something that goes directly into you and it influences your mind directly. Alright, so are we really controlling the quality of food that goes into each one of us? Have we ever thought about it? I don't think so. Because we take the food available here in the supermarkets and the vegetable yard for granted. We just consume whatever is available because we don't have the time to think beyond it. Is that correct? Or am I the only one who's experiencing this? I would like this session to be a little more interactive so we can kind of exchange thoughts, so we gain from each other's ideas. Right? So, this thought has what has inspired me to take up jobs in agriculture domain and contribute to the agriculture field with whatever knowledge I have, whatever knowledge I've been gaining from people like you, and share it with the respective companies I've worked with. So that's me from a personal front. We give you a professional outlook of that. And then I do a lot of research in the Indian scriptures, and I try and take a lot of knowledge available. I would say the lost wisdom that no one's really looking at to now. And it's all there in front of us, but we don't even open the book. Right? But there is a huge load of treasure in that we can actually utilize for our own success, our own respective business. It can help our day-to-day decision making in a great way. You need not refer to anyone outside yourself if you have this access to all the scripture that India has with it. Right? So my job has been to try and take all that information out and try and deliver it to people through my blogs and talks to people who are interested in this. Okay, so that's in brief about what I am. Okay.
Right. So, perfect. So, since you mentioned agriculture companies, and that's the domain that you're focusing on, and representing good companies from outside India, I believe it's a two-way process. So companies are coming to India, like you said, from taking cultural technologies that are being used by farmers, that are being incorporated by companies elsewhere, or even companies bringing down technology, which makes it a lot, I wouldn't say a lot simpler, but a little more, the process becomes a little more set. Now, for instance, Walmart's actually helping farmers with logistics now, or PepsiCo's come here with contract farming, right? So even if there's a drought or the produce isn't as is expected, the farmers still get some money that they can sustain themselves with. Or Cargill has come and helping the dairy farmers maximize the produce of the milk that is being produced by the farmers. So it's been helping quite a few farmers otherwise. So what is your outlook based on the communication or the dealings between companies from outside India and farmers in India?
The truth is like this. If you actually interact with the farmer, the first thing that comes in front of him is the traditional practices that he has been working on. Okay, so he is relatively reluctant to accept foreign technology. So now it's been a battle for almost every one of us in the agriculture domain to kind of tell the farmer why this is beneficial to you, because there has been two sets of people who are reaching the farmer. There's one set of people who are just going there to promote their technology, irrespective of whether it's going to help them or not. And there's actually one set which is actually trying to identify what the problem is and then give a solution to that problem without really caring about the business today. And we want to invest in growing the farming community to a point that it matures to then give us benefits in the long term. There are very few companies who really do that. The big companies do not have time to look into this aspect of the farmers. Right? So when it comes to foreign companies approaching India, it generally has been in the sense India is a big market. It's got a huge population of 1.2 billion people. There has to be a market, right? Why are we losing that out? China and India have been the biggest focus markets for a lot of multinational companies. And agriculture has been the backbone of our economy. Unfortunately, today it's just contributing to 30% of GDP. Okay, it's not at all a good number. Given that it's a backbone and the largest land holding is all into agriculture, I think that's where the opportunity lies today. So that's been the biggest motivator for a lot of MNCs. But when they actually arrive into India, they find that the picture is just the opposite. It's not so easy to win in the rural markets and with the farming community in India. It takes a lot of time. And very few companies have the patience to run through that rigorous process. Right? For example, going a little outside the rural domain, Kellogg's came into India 15 years plus about 20 years ago. But they did not make profit until recently. They had to wait for at least a decade and a half to really get to a profitable point. But they stayed put. They know this is a market. It will really change the habits of people who are taking idli dosas in the morning, possibly cornflakes in the morning. Right? So it takes a lot of time. So this is with the urban community. So you can imagine how long it's going to take for the rural community who have relatively lesser access to modern education and relatively lesser access to or awareness of what's happening around, best practices around. So a lot of intervention is happening from the government's end to promote the right technologies. It is also identifying the problems, trying to support it with funds, with subsidies. So I think we are getting there. I think it's just a question of time that MNCs and the Indian companies together partner to exchange knowledge, have a seamless interaction of or exchange of data and information of what is required here and what is available outside India. Bring it to a point that is adaptable with the Indian community, Indian farming community. I think that's certainly happening. I think being in this industry, I've seen a sea change of what it was 10 years ago and what it is today. So I think that's where the MNC entry into India with respect to farming community is still in a very, very nascent stage, very, very entry-level stage.
So, it's a great thing that you mentioned that Kellogg came to India more than 15 years ago, right? And they just turned profitable. Right? So, these kind of organizations come in deep pockets, right? What's really difficult, and I believe that's one of the questions we can go to when we actually go into rural areas, right? Or even urban areas for that matter. Many individuals don't have the pockets. Like we see from one of our friends who's actually attending this session. Great innovation, right? Someone like a small entrepreneur, or even someone that's innovative, like a farmer or someone else, it's very difficult to sustain. Right? I mean, money could not be the only objective. Right? It's access to buyers. You go to 3 buyers looking for the same thing, but they'd like it to be, alright, we want it to be ISO certified. Someone would say we want CMMI 11 certification. Or we want this to be in this color, we want to be in that color. It's very difficult for startups or individuals that don't really have that kind of money. Or even if they have the money, to decide where to put that money. Right? So I thought I'd ask you one question, but there's so many things here. So maybe over here, how do you get someone or like a startup, what advice would you give them as generic as an ecosystem to break through the mold or the challenges that really they face and be able to succeed, or at least get noticed to have someone come on board and help them succeed?
Right. This reminds me of a story. There's this bishop and a father. Okay? And a bishop gifts the father an Arabian horse. The father doesn't know how to ride the horse. Okay? So he's so excited. He's an Arabian horse. And he gets an instruction. So the horse will listen to you. It will start galloping the moment you say, "Oh God." And it will stop the moment you say, "Hallelujah." Okay? These are the 2 mantras that you need to know when you ride this horse. So the father gets excited and he says, gets on the horse. How much ever he pulls the rope, it doesn't move. The moment he says, "Oh God," it starts running really fast. And he gets excited and says, "Oh God," it runs even more faster. Right? And he forgets what the bishop had told him when the horse is galloping so fast. And the excitement continues to say, "Oh God, oh God," and it goes faster and faster. And it's heading towards a cliff. Right? And then he remembers, you need to say "Hallelujah," otherwise it's not going to stop. And he says that and stops right at the tip of the cliff. And he looks down. He says, "Oh God." Then again starts. Right? So the question is, how aware are we? Are we doing things mechanically because someone is asking us to do it? Are we using our mind? Are we being mindful to what's happening? And that's one of the major things that a lot of us do not pay attention to. As human beings and businesses, that we need to be aware of what we are doing. Let's not take things as take rules and regulations. And the other thing is there a real need for a solution? Okay? That takes me to another example. Again, a story that I read 2 days ago is there's this king who was appointing a prime minister. Okay, see, the king wants to appoint his prime minister, he wants to find another Birbal. So he's got 3 people competing for that role. And he says, "I got a lock, like the one that we see in this Happy New Year movie, where the lock is complicated, right? So that kind of lock, you need to open that lock, you need a lot of mathematical equations to open it up, it's not an easy one to do. So he says, "I'm taking you all into one room. You guys spend a night, and next day morning is the contest, and whoever gets to open the lock will be the prime minister of this kingdom." Okay. Now, out of the 3, 2 people are good friends. They open up all the mathematical equation books that they possibly laid their hands on and start revising everything, and they want to study into it and understand what all possibly could happen in a lock system. Okay. And the 3rd guy is relaxing, he's very cool, he doesn't want to break his head, very relaxed. He's in fact meditating most of the time. Okay. And these 2 are wondering, what is this guy up to? Is he a fool? Why is he even coming for the contest when he's not interested in studying or preparing for the next day morning's event? And the night passes. The next day morning, the king calls for these people, and these 2 guys are laughing at the story. Yeah, he didn't do anything last night. These guys are very prepared. They're having all the books in front of them, the entire pile of books. The king calls them one by one. He said, "This is the lock. This is the place which you need to use your brains on, open the lock up now." And everybody opens their books, open book exam here. So you can look into the books and then try and apply your mind and opening that. Both of them fail, whoever studied. The 3rd guy just comes and sees the lock and pulls it apart. Right? And he opens it. All he had to see is whether it's locked or not first. It was not locked at all. Why would you even break your head to really apply all your mathematical equations to it? So the question is there a problem first? Again, from an MNC point of view, we have X number of products in our portfolio, we can bring it to the market. It's very easy to do that. But what is the need in the market? Am I trying to grow my market share here in India by promoting what I have been producing just to have another feather in my cap, let's say I have presence in India? Or am I here to invest for a long term, really understand the need here, understand the problems here, and then either adapt my products to it or build something absolutely from ground up to cater to the needs. So I think these are two very, very critical things that one needs to think about when we want to operate in the Indian rural markets. Right? Most of the time we have solutions. Okay. This is the third problem. I have a solution. I found the need. I found the solution. It works very well. The very next year, it's not required. So the farmers are so dynamic. They start getting awareness of late. They are getting a lot of awareness about what's happening, how the practices could be more appropriate to giving higher productivity, better results, better yields, more profits, etc. So the need changes. Today I have been using say X machinery. Tomorrow I might need X plus Y machinery in order to function in my market. So they want to sell off their assets and they want to get into something new. So do we have the ability to be agile? Are we close to the market? Are we listening to the farmers? Are we listening to the consumers there? And are we in a position to adapt ourselves to the changing needs? Is the third biggest thing. So I think these three, in my view, are points we need to keep in mind when we are getting into rural markets. So I just made some points across and I was thinking through a lot of things and what I could be sharing. Right. So when it came to my own company, as I said, we actually are the largest outdoor power equipment manufacturers in the world. Okay, so we have around 40,000 SKUs in our product lineup, and we got into India like everyone else, and it was about 4-5 years ago, and then we formally institutionalized ourselves in India with a company here 2 years ago. Okay, now as I said, the need of the hour was not exactly what we had in our pocket to offer. So we found there was something totally different. For example, we dealt with a product called weeders or tillers. My friends here would know what they are. So they are basically equipment which are used to clear weeds in between the actual row of crops. So the reason why we do that, if you don't kill the weeds, it's going to eat up all the nutrients and it will affect the productivity and yield of your prime crop. So it's essential to keep clearing the weeds off and on. A lot of farmers do it with labor, and given that labor is becoming a shortage today all across the country, they are forced to get into mechanized solutions. So which is what we found as an opportunity, and we got it there. Now the monsoons fail. If the monsoons fail, farmers don't get their produce. They don't have enough revenue to buy new products, new technologies. So we miss the market. We miss that year. We miss the season. So we were in lookout for a complementary product to take care of times when the monsoon fails. Okay. So micro irrigation was a solution, which is why we found the solution in Pune. We was a startup company in Pune into micro irrigation solutions, and we acquired that company to complement our existing product lineup. So if I have good monsoons, my regular products sell. And if I don't have good monsoons, the micro irrigation product will give the needful rains in order to sell my products. Alright, so both ways it would work. So that was the thought behind acquiring this company. Right, we'll get into more details about why this micro irrigation company and how we selected that. We would get into it eventually during the talk. So that was what we did. So the point I'm trying to drive is we would need to keep ourselves aware, keep watch on what is happening around us, the real need of the hour, and something which will actually help the farming community rather than helping the company. So keeping the customer first. Okay. There's again Leo Tolstoy. If anyone's heard of this name, Leo Tolstoy? Yeah. He's a Russian author. Okay, so he came out with this 3 main questions. Okay, what are the most 3 important questions that you need to ask for yourself? Who is the most important person? What is the most important karma or the deed or the action? Which is the best time to act? Okay. So this guy again, my favorite examples come with kings and prime ministers. So again, there's a king who had these 3 questions in mind, and he didn't have an answer to it. He wasn't able to satisfy himself with whatever answers his courtiers would give him. His prime minister could not help him, his finance minister could not help him. So he wasn't very convinced with whatever answers were coming, because all the answers were like, what is the most important time? Someone said, yeah, look at the astrological stars, see the positions of the lunar, whatever, all the planets' positions, and then see which is the most appropriate time to do whatever action you're doing. A lot of us as Hindus in India do that. And someone else says you look for the best business opportunity, do your planning, do your action plan, and see which is the most right moment for initiating an action. And then he said that nothing really worked. It wasn't really hitting the core of his heart. It wasn't the right answer. It wasn't convincing him. So as usual, we turned to a hermit, a sage, a sannyasi, sadhu. He said, there is a sannyasi in that village. Let me go and meet him and ask him this question. So when he went there, this sannyasi was actually digging up his field. And he went there, he was trying to ask the sannyasi the same question. He did not respond. He was busy with his work. And then the king said, may I help you? May I help, because I find that you are very thin and you're not able to exert yourself as much as you need to for digging up your farm here. So let me help you. So the sannyasi said, fine, go ahead. And he was doing that work. He got exhausted, spent almost the whole evening there. And suddenly he finds someone running towards him, running towards the sannyasi with a lot of wound in his stomach. Okay? And he resorts to rescuing that person. He said the bleeding needs to stop. As a king, he is very responsible. He needs to take care of his people. So his instinct action was that, let me attend to his wound. And he saves him. And both of them rest because it was late in the night. He can't really go back. It's in the other village. There's a forest in between. So he rests there along with the wounded person and the hermitage. And the next day morning, he doesn't understand where he is. And this wounded person comes and tells him that I was actually planning to murder you because you did something to me in the past. You took away my land and punished me. So I was trying to take revenge. And you actually saved my life. So I'm so thankful to you, and I would be a servant to you all my life. So he says, fine, very good. And he said, anyway, my 3 questions are unanswered even now. So he goes back to the sannyasi. He says, Swamiya, please answer my questions. These are my 3 questions. So he says, your answers are already there in front of you. So who is the most important person? The king says, I don't know. You tell me. I'm asking you the question. So who is the most important person? The person who is in front of you. Who are you engaging with? So when it comes to business communications, the person you are with, who you are talking to, is the most important. For us, to me, it's this whole community here which is sitting. You are the most important for me, and for you, it's probably me. And which is the most important time? When it was the sadhu who was actually digging up his farm, it was the most important time to help him. When the person came wounded, he helped him right then and there. So it is the most important time to act right now. Because whether it's past or the future, all the time that you have is now. So any action is now. Okay? And then, what is the third question? Which is the most important time? Who is the most important person? Which is the most important action? The action is basically the call by nature to you. He is giving you 2 different opportunities. One to help the sannyasi, the other is to help the person who is wounded. So these were the call or the opportunities that nature gave you. So you need to act to that rather than delaying it and say, okay, had I not catered to the sannyasi, had the king not done that, he would have left then and there. He could have been murdered by that guy who was hiding in the forest. So he acted with that opportunity that was there in front of him. So therefore, that's the most important thing. And then, when the person came wounded, he was having a rage against the king, but he helped him. So he became a servant to the king. So it turned out to very positive effect. So therefore, that's what the 3 big answers came out to the king. In a similar way, when we look for companies to join us as MNCs, what we really look for is certain traits like this. Okay. With respect to the founder, as all of us are founders, how much of this awareness is there in all of you? Okay. If I were to acquire any company, there are certain characteristics that I would look at. Okay. How aware are you with respect to the market? Is it just some idea that you have randomly in your mind, or does it actually apply to the market today? Okay, and who is the most important person for you? Is it the dealer, is it the distributor, or is it the ultimate farmer, or whoever it is? That's something you need to be able to define for yourselves. And the third one, what is the most important thing? Are you very quick in your actions? Are you agile? Are you aware? Are you able to respond to the requirements that is there in the market? Right? So, the answer to these three questions, if we remember in even our day-to-day lives, I think it's going to be very, very helpful for all of us in our day-to-day decision making. Then there are about 6 to 7 points that I could kind of jot down for sharing with all of you. There are a lot of other points which were not so relevant. So I would always look at it from a very dharmic perspective, given my personality. Right? So the first point is the technology that you have in a position to disrupt what is there in the market? How much is its ability to disrupt what is currently prevailing in the market? Okay. It may be acceptable now, but it may be acceptable later, but that disruption quotient is going to be very, very critical. Because you need to differentiate yourself. Now, the second one is who is the founder? What kind of leadership characteristics does he have? So, I don't know if you all got a chance to read this book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. How many of you have read that book? One? Okay. So this book, I mean, it's a good book to read for all of you. In case you have not laid your hands on it, please read that book. So it talks about something called level 5 leadership. So level 5 leadership is the highest class of a great leader. Okay, it's level 1, level 2, level 3. You can get all the details on Google. But level 5 leadership is something where you are not only an inspiring leader, but you also have the humility and the will to take the business to a different height. A regular level 4 leader would just be able to inspire, but does not have the factor of humility and will in him. Okay? So he talks about that. So in terms of what is the personality of the founder, so there I just had there's something called the dharmic quotient. Okay, that's something, a term that I have been using. A dharmic quotient is nothing but your IQ plus your EQ plus an SQ, a spiritual quotient. So without being intelligent, you don't have the ability to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. So IQ is going to be a very, very important part of a DQ. And then your emotional quotient. You will not be a righteous person, dharmic or dharma. In India, if you have to translate to English, the nearest translation would be called righteousness. Okay? It is not the exact translation, but something that leads to what dharma means. Okay. So, emotional quotient, to what extent are you in a position to identify your emotions and control them and manage them and turn to what is required? And then the spiritual quotient, of course, about regular inner self, learning yourself inside yourself and seeing how it would, you're identifying the real purpose of your life and real purpose of your being here on this planet. And a little deeper into dharma, the reason I'm stressing on this point is this is an increasingly important aspect of everyone's personality. Okay, so you might be running a business, but a business that you're running is an extension of your own personality. Right? So if you have the right motives and the right goals with respect to your business, it would penetrate into the people with no difficulty at all. If you are going there to help a person without the feeling that you're trying to impart, look, I'm trying here to make money, I'm trying to market a product, rather than doing that, if I tell them, look, this is a product that would help you and enhance your way of living, simplify your way of living and improve your lifestyle, improve your health, I think that those products get far more accepted than the others. Now again, coming from the farming background, if you go and tell the farmer, or a farmer tells another farmer, this product is very good, it's been very useful, and this is the result that it has given me, that is far more accepted than how much ever road shows I do, how much ever marketing I do, BTL or ATL, whatever it is. It does not work as much as what word of mouth does. Right? And why would the word of mouth happen? Because he has seen that affecting his life. Because we have actually done something to help the farmer. So dharma is like a rule book that nature has made for human beings. Now, what is the dharma for a tree? A tree blossoms, it gives flowers, it gives fruits. Then in autumn, it sheds its leaves, and again it blooms. So it's a cycle, a regular cycle that it follows. That is the dharma of a tree. If that changes, it will look awkward to all of us. It will destroy the entire ecosystem that we are in. Similarly, there is a way in which human beings have to function in this environment. Okay, it's an ecosystem where we all have to live in harmony. So if we don't do that, and if we become a little more selfish in our approaches to living, we end up destroying the ecosystem, and which is what is happening. Okay, invariably, anyway, if you're going back to my first example on the food that you're consuming, there is a lot of poison that you're consuming. You can't put in short. If I get into details, you would stop eating. Okay, so it's like that. So people are increasingly becoming self-centered and selfish. They are not following the dharmic principles laid down for the survival of human beings. So we are heading towards a very, a challenging environmental situation going forward. The climatic heat, the climatic, temperatures increasing, then rains, missing of monsoons, rains becoming shorter, summers becoming hotter, winters are becoming more longer or shorter depending on the country, more storms, etc. All this is happening only because of our own actions. So therefore, I have been very, very active in encouraging people I meet to ensure that you adhere to dharmic principles and use the Bible or the user manual. You know what the user manual for human beings is? There is a user manual for all human beings. We have user manuals for every single product that we buy. All the objects that we see around us, we have user manuals. But have you ever seen a user manual for ourselves? Which is in fact the most complicated object that you can think of. No. But it's all there in front of you. The scriptures, for the Hindus it's the Bhagavad Gita, or say the Quran for Muslims, the Zoroastrianism books, Zenda, Avesta, etc. So I think it's high time we need to resort to these books and spend some time in the morning to understand what these principles are. So for people who heard stories of Ramayana, when Rama went to his 14 years of Vanvas, when he goes to the forest, his mother says, as a mother, she's always loving, she has this attachment, right? And every mother has that. So she says, I need to give him food to last for at least 14 years. How do I do that? It's not possible to cook and give him something and give something in his bag. So the only thing she said is, Rama, you need to follow dharma. Be righteous in all the actions that you do, and that will protect you in turn. And that's exactly what happened when he went up to Ravana and he won the war and he became the supreme winner. I mean, a lot of examples, stories that are given in Ramayana. But dharma is what protected him all along, and he set examples in every possible way to set an example to all of us and for us to learn from. I think it's sad that we are now looking more Western rather than looking at our own stories and scriptures, right? So that is what I define as dharmic quotient. How much of this awareness is there in the founder or the guy who's running the business? Okay, is he being righteous? In the company that we were looking at, okay, in agriculture, subsidy is a big thing. And there is a lot of bureaucracy and there is a lot of red tape involved in getting subsidy for any single product that you want to buy or sell. Okay? The first thing that I found with this company is that they are outside the subsidy system. They said, we don't want to get into subsidy business because we know the evils in the subsidy system. Even the government is aware of it. They want to get out of it very soon. They are doing that. And they said we would work only on open market. Even if I have the option to get into subsidy, I would rather not do it. I would have a more peaceful sleep than to get into subsidy and do something wrong. Because the first thing that you do when you do get into subsidy is, for the ones in agriculture, you jack up your prices for obvious reasons, right? So we don't want to do that because I'm not actually catering to the farmer by doing that. Who's my ultimate, most important person? Farmer is my most important person. So am I doing something that helps the farmer? Or is it something that helps me? That's the difference. Right? There are big companies who are wrapped into the subsidy system, but it does not do any benefit to the farmer. The wrong technology goes, the wrong products go, the farmer is not aware, unfortunately. he's not being briefed adequately, he learns the wrong way, or learns the hard way. He understands now I need to look at these aspects of the technology before even acquiring them. So therefore, DQ, or the dharmic quotient, is something that I would essentially look at and I would encourage people to build on, because this is something that would sustain you for a very, very long time to come. Protect dharma. Dharma will protect you. Okay? And the next one is the shadow score. I'm giving interesting names because industry when you give some interesting tableau for that, then it sells. Right? So I call this something called shadow score. What happens to your shadow when you walk in the middle of the sun, when say maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock is when you have the longest shadow, right? And in India, you see a practice of doing prostration to the elders or wise people. Okay, when a Mussalman does namaz, he's on his knees and he bows completely down with his head, touching the ground. Right? Even there, you see a bit of a shadow there. But in India, हमारे घर में, when elders come in, we go flat on the floor. Right? Totally flat, and it's called Shaktanga Namaskar, which means I'm prostrating, my shadow is not there, it's all there with you. I'm totally surrendering when we do it to the elders or Gurujis and all. So, what does this mean? The whole science behind this is that when you prostrate to someone, you touch his feet in a manner that even your shadow should not be seen, even your shadow should accompany you in touching his feet. So, this is basically an illustration of your ego. How humble are you? If you are not humble, you would not possibly do that. Aajkal there is a very, very big trend here. Bauji, no sir. Bauji is one step smarter, he jumps one step back, kuch ho na jaye, main gir na jaye. So that's where we are. So that's not the whole objective. I think you need to bend down with a lot of reverence, be humble. So it's the humility that counts, how down to earth is the person, how well is he willing to listen to someone telling him something, is he willing to learn, or is he going to be a person who says, I know all, I don't want you to tell me what this is. So I think that's a very, very important factor. I'm sure all of us know this. I'm just trying to put it in a very brief tablet so it's easy as a takeaway. So this is next important thing. And then the other one is the knowledge of the value chain in your respective business. Now, for example, my friend there said he was in lighting business. Okay. So in lighting, it would be very, very essential for one to know where is the raw material starting from? Where does it come from? Who gets it? Where is it mined from? What is the cost? What is the difficulty of the people in the mines there? Or is it the factories which are developing this? What are the chemicals that are going into it? Where are the chemicals coming in from? So right from the origin till the time it is destroyed and recycles into the earth, we need to know the entire value chain and have a command over it. The more we have a command over this, the better it is for your own business. And that speaks for itself. At least when I start talking to entrepreneurs and I have 30 minutes of conversation with them, I can exactly gauge what amount of depth do they have in the subject. Most of you would be able to do that. It's very simple. So, talking to anyone, you would be able to assess the depth of knowledge he has in his respective area of work. So that is another important factor that I would encourage everyone to really delve into, get into the depths of it. So even in the IT, you're developing a product, but do we really look at the hardware side of it? Do we look at the network side of it? We said, okay, networking is his department. Hardware is not my department. I'm only here to do programming, I'm here to write algorithms. But it would help if I know the hardware. I could possibly give a more holistic solution and give a solution which has got a more sophisticated hardware than I am. And I'm not an IT person, I'm going to use very limited terms. So, a more refined hardware with a good software solution, maybe reduce the overall costs and make it easy for people to buy into. So that's one way of looking at it. So value chain command is another important aspect. Then, as I said earlier, how does it complement your existing line of business? So when we acquire companies, does it really help my business, and does my business help your business? It's not just one way, there has to be two-way traffic, it has to be a win-win situation. Otherwise, why would you be interested in associating with me? Right? The intention is you have started your business with a lot of passion. Right? You know what you want to do. Most importantly, most important person, it's all coming from your heart. Right? It's not something I'm doing to make money and sell off the business. Generally doesn't happen. Okay? So when you do that, you would want more value for your business, and I would want to grow my business to the extent that I can reach the mass much faster than I can do it all by myself. It's generally the intention. So therefore, is there a win-win situation? Does the company really contribute to your way of working? Do the cultures match? Okay. So as much as the companies do a due diligence on you, you need to do an equal due diligence on the company who's trying to acquire you. And you need to understand who the people are, who is running the business, the company that I would be acquired into, and how is the modus operandi of working once I'm acquired, right? Because you have a lot of case studies and research that goes on. Sometimes the founders are retained, sometimes the founders are not retained. So there are pros and cons on both sides, depending on the business, depending on the circumstance. So we need to be prepared to think through all these processes when we put ourselves up for sale or something like that. And then the last thing that I would say here is your business lean in terms of structure? What I mean by lean is, again, referring mainly with the heading of agility. How agile am I, especially when it comes to India, which is extremely dynamic. So you need to be able to respond to changes in the market, right? So am I lean enough is the question. If I'm not, I'd probably make myself lean. Okay? Especially when you're not big and when you are starving for resources, we would need to be lean. And for people who want to get into idea, I think there are a lot of books which talk about minimum viable pilot, minimum viable prototype, etc. So do it in the most lean format without the unnecessary glamour associated with the product, unnecessary features associated with the product. As the core, let's do a pilot. Let's understand that. As a company, we do that. Right? When we want to launch a product, we just take the core of the product, run it on the farm, get the user to actually experience it. So is it enhancing its experience or not? Is the big question that we have. And if it does, then it's worth considering. It's worth taking it to the next step. And then we say, okay, so this is the main problem, and the main problem is taken care of by my solution. Now, what are the other smaller problems associated with the big problem? Is something that I can help doing by adding accessories to it, or attachments, or features of the product per se. So I think these are some 7 major things. Just to reiterate, one, of course, is the ability to disrupt current trends. Then I spoke about principles of the founder, his personality, his charisma, his characteristics, level 5 leadership, and how much of that is percolating into his team. Because if he's a level 5 leadership, he would encourage the people under him to become one like that. And then dharmic quotient, you have the shadow score, right? And then you have the knowledge of the value chain, the command over it. You have how the line of business complements your own business. And lastly, the ability to execute under lean structures and lean systems. Because more often, why I say lean is, when you get acquired, there are times when the companies do not want to invest a lot of resources into that company, and let it run in its own. It's helping me, I know, but let it prove itself. Okay? Let it get to a certain stage before I get into more resources. So you need to be in a position to operate under lean circumstances. So I think that's what it is with respect to what we look for with when we look for companies in India to import our clients.
Great, so that definitely covers the main objective of today's event, the traits you look for. And you mentioned, that you will actually share the story of why and how you acquired the micro irrigation company. So we know the traits, some of them, the founders, how agile they are, mainly the objective, how disruptive. So if you could just share something, the story about this micro irrigation company.
Right. So how many of us are aware of what micro irrigation is? As expected. Okay. Anyone knows what irrigation is? Great. Okay. Most of us know what irrigation is. Irrigation is, in simple words, the process of transporting water from one point to a point where it is actually needed. Okay. It could be through canals, it could be through rivers, it could be through irrigation. Rivers is it's a natural form of irrigation, right? It comes from the hills and makes the entire land through which it passes very fertile and able for agriculture and farming practices. So when it becomes artificial, we use the word irrigation. Now, micro irrigation is a term which is more prevalent in countries where there is lack of water, or which is very heavily rain dependent, monsoon dependent, and the monsoons generally fail. So we need to have an artificial mechanism where we are able to optimize the utility of water. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about synthesize Yojana. Okay, it's all about promoting micro irrigation. More crop per drop is the theme. So what we did was, I told you the story about why micro irrigation, because it complements our nature of business. Okay. So why did we go into that specific micro irrigation product is what I'll be talking about now. So the traditional micro irrigation systems, it's a $1 billion industry so far, and it's growing at about 10 to 15% annually. And the penetration rate in India is about 7 to 8% only. Okay, that means there is 92% of the population which has not adopted any micro irrigation practices. They are still dependent on natural resources, or they are probably depending on Indradev. Okay. Now, and 90% of these suppliers are selling through subsidy mechanisms, which means you are invariably not in a position to get good quality micro irrigation stuff without involving yourself through the subsidy mode. Okay, government does give you benefit, but I don't know how well it is priced. I would not comment on that. So what we really liked was that this company was outside that system, was able to give a solution for 1 acre of land at 25% the price of what the traditional practice was at. Because if I'm spending say ₹1 lakh for 1 acre of irrigation, micro irrigation, I would probably spend 20 to 25,000 when we sell this product of micro irrigation. The technology was different, solutions were different, and it was more do-it-yourself kind. Okay, so when it becomes do-it-yourself, the farmer has the flexibility to take the product, install it the way he wants, and tomorrow if he wants to change the entire crop, he can relay the entire micro irrigation in a manner that suits his crop pattern. Whereas, if you do the traditional system, it's a permanent fixture and it requires a lot of investment, reinvestment again to relay that entire thing into your acre of land. So that was another disruptive factor that I felt was very interesting. And with respect to the technology, it was very simple. Okay, the product is called something. It's called the micro spray. What it does is, it needs very little pressure, which means it does not demand the farmer to invest on very high-end pumps. It would run on 1 HP pressure, 0.8 HP pressure, and it generates an artificial rain. It has got holes in it punched with a laser. Okay, and it is done in a very unique pattern. So the outcome is that when the pressure is given and the water flows through those hoses, the pipes, the rubber pipes, plastic pipes, it generates a form of rain, it generates a form of an agroclimatic zone where the particle size of the drop is very, very minuscule. It does not affect the crop, but at the same time gives a feel of a rainfall, which is exactly what the crop needs. And it creates the needful moisture and humidity in the atmosphere there, which is very conducive to the growth of the crop. Okay. Again, competition to that is sprinkler irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation, the farmer does not really look at the size of the droplet. He says, I don't have a choice, this is the only thing I can do, right? So he uses that mechanism, the droplet sizes are high, it does end up destroying the pods, it does end up destroying the flower, so the extent of damage is there. Whereas in this solution, the extent of damage is minimized. Okay? So these are certain very, very special features that I felt was very, very interesting, and we felt this could go a long way, and it actually hits the problem of the farmer. And that is a problem which even the farmer is not aware of. And he needs productivity, and he needs the needful, he needs the output to be able to sustain in an organic fashion, given that today organic trend is kind of picking up. So these are things that will promote organic farming. And the fourth aspect of it is the complementary part. Now when I use this product, it gives me the needful moisture, it generates the needful productivity for the product, and it also aids growth of weeds. So when the weeds grow, you will have to de-weed it. So we have products to do the de-weeding as well. So I am in a position to upsell my products with my tillers. So I think it was like a good package, which is why we felt micro irrigation, this technology and this company would be very, very apt for us to take on. And that's when the story started, and then we went on to the regular due diligence process.
No, thank you. I mean, because theory is one, practical implementation is another, and this is where we're able to relate as to your values and the traits you look for have been clearly met with the acquisition you've made recently. Now, it brings me to a big question. Let's talk about something that we all understand. Access. Rural innovators or startups getting access to not just the right organization, but the right people within the organization. For instance, Pune is a very vibrant city. Great startups, great organizations. It's known as the Oxford of the East. So you really have great educational talent and people, students graduating from amazing institutes in Pune. The other thing is it's the automotive hub in India. So you have an amazing amount of engineering companies in Pune. But let's say for investment, startups or individuals still have to go to Mumbai, or that's the closest, right? So everyone will think, yeah, you are in Pune, you can easily come down to Mumbai. Right? Of course, someone has to hustle. They're amazing players. Fortunately, we have Alakriti here in our audience that have actually come to Pune. That's the only place they are in India to really capitalize on the gap that one sees in providing access to capital and the right kind of resources to companies here in Pune. We can even relate it to our politicians. We never see them unless the elections are around the corner, and then they say we've done this, we've done that, and we're like, when, right? And so, how do rural companies or even startups, like we have another friend here who's done great work with bulbs and dimming and those effects. How do these individuals or ideas get access to the right organizations or individuals that they really need to connect with?
Okay. The way I would do it is like this. Okay. So, in my company, or any company, I think the most important thing that we need to recognize or search for amongst ourselves is what is your hedgehog concept. Okay, this goes back to the book that I mentioned, Good to Great by Jim Collins. Right, so I like the term, which is why I'm using that. You know what a hedgehog does? You know what a hedgehog is, right? Yes. Yeah. So a hedgehog, when it is under attack, it rolls itself up as a ball and it's got spikes all around and it protects itself. There's nothing that you can do to it. Be it a fox, be it a lion, there's nothing you can do to it. Right? So as a company, what is my hedgehog concept? Is it my service? Is it my product? Or is it the design? What is it that nobody can take away from me? Or is it my principles? Is it my value system? Is it the relation I have with my farmers? What is it that nobody can take away from me? So I think that's something we need to recognize in the very beginning. So if we do that, and then incremental steps, all your decisions, all your growth plans should be aligned to your hedgehog concept, whatever it may be. Okay, so if it is relationship with farmers, for example, in my company, I value relationship with farmers in a great way, and I value relationship with dealers. So relationships is a big thing for me. Okay, I would not leave any stone unturned to invest on building that relationship. Okay, it may be a near-term loss, but I know in the long term, this guy is not going to walk away from me. He would come to me in spite of having 10 different options, and I've seen this happening not once but several times. So that's basically what we need to recognize amongst ourselves, your hedgehog concept. And once you understand that and invest in it, and over a period of time with incremental growths into your hedgehog concept, you would be able to become a major threat for big competitors. Okay? The book speaks about example of Kimberly-Clark paper product company, and it had a threat of Procter & Gamble coming in competition to it. Okay, so any company would be a little nervous when it comes to Procter & Gamble. It mentions in the book that they actually spent a moment of silence that Procter & Gamble entered the arena, and they were thankful to it. Right? What they did was they recognized that. They knew that this is going to be a problem, and they worked on solutions to act on it. They acquired another company, they can be slightly bigger, and they stuck to their principles, stuck to their practices, their hedgehog concept. And there was it says that out of 10 different products, they were leaders in 8 of those. Okay? So when you get that, you automatically get the visibility in the industry. And when you get the visibility in the industry, there are people who would want to associate with you. They would automatically come. You don't need to go running after anyone. You just need to drive yourself and stay fully focused on that concept, and rest will happen. So again, leading back to my own way of putting it, do your karma as per Karma Yoga, which is chapter 3, chapter 4 of Vedanta. Do your work without really looking forward to what's going to happen next. Why am I doing this? Mereko kya milega? Matlab. Okay? So it's like the rule book of human beings again talks about 3 major things. How do we associate? We need to learn ourselves to associate with objects. How do we associate with people? And how do I associate with myself? Okay? So we can put it as 3 M's. 3 M's. You just need to remember 3 M's. My favorite tablet. So when it comes to objects, you need to be very objective and be measuring. How is this object useful to me? I'm not going to love this object. I will use it in a manner that it helps me grow towards my object. And when it comes to people, we don't measure it. We should not, but we do. It's generally the reverse. We measure people and we love objects. We need to turn that around to be in the right path. Alright, so you need to measure objects, and with people it should be music. It's like love your people. Unidirectionally or unconditionally. You just love people for the sake of loving people. Right? And then when it comes to yourself, be meditative, introspect, think about your own purpose. So with these 3 M's, as a shruti, in any music concert, you've got a shruti going on constantly. Right? So this should be like the shruti in one's life.
Okay. So it's really nice. Thank you for sharing this hedgehog concept with us. Which brings me to a question that everyone has, in their mind. They doubt it where the protective instinct, right? Because they're protecting the ideas, they're protecting the growth from, sharing it with large companies and investors. Because I wouldn't say in all cases, of course not in all cases, but in some cases, great ideas have been taken away and, being able to move to the next level. But as well at the same time protect their ideas from something that may really, take it away from them.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think we will have to take every possible step to protect your ideas, protect your products, your key USPs. But what you mentioned is inevitable. Right? If a person wants to take it away from you, there's nothing you can do about it. Right? You've got a lot of assets in your home. If someone wants to steal it, there's nothing you can do about it. How much ever you lock your home up, he knows ways to break into it. Alright? So, more important is how passionate you are about what you're doing. Okay? Irrespective of what the person is taking away from you, I think that should not deviate your way of doing things. Again, the hedgehog concept should be so strong in you. That cannot be taken. But that's you. That's something that only you can do. And every person is unique in its own way. I mean, you can't copy one another. I cannot be Pratap. Pratap cannot be Sudarshan. So he's got his own assets, I've got my own assets. So there are certain things which only that person can do. Well, that's something we need to have confidence on. And if a particular idea is taken, he may not know the real core behind it. Sometimes he may, but I think you need to continue by going on with your passion for doing things, because the market is so huge. It's not that there's just going to be one person who do it. There is enough space for n number of people to perform in the market. So even if he does not take it away, you will have someone who's going to bring a better product than yours. So it's either this or that. So you are going to have a person standing right next to you and shouting the same thing. So I think it's better to be prepared for it right from day one. That tomorrow something is going to happen, and then prepare yourself in a manner that you can protect yourself, be it through patents or copyrights or your own value systems, whatever it may be. So I think we need to be aware of this and be prepared for that day, if not today, tomorrow.
Okay. So I know everyone's eager to ask you questions, so I'm going to restrict myself to 4 final questions. Okay. Alright. Ideation versus existing successful business. Many would not have the resources. It's an idea, but it would take a lot of resources to get it off the ground. Otherwise, there's also something that's successful. Now, someone like our friend here, he has achieved a certain level of success, but it's still kind of at ideation because the idea is successful. They validated the idea, but now they need to make it successful by getting into manufacturing. Or the other way is someone's already successful, but they finding it difficult to move to the next level. So, what are your thoughts on this particular concept? Let's say ideation versus something that's successful.
I have done this in my own company, alright? MTD, albeit a globally huge company, but in India we are still small. We are very young, we are very small. And there are a lot of concepts we also try off and on. We don't get a hell of a lot of resources, but we still need to manage because the pressures are more as an employee of a company rather than being on your own. So I would love to be on the other side of the table in such situations. So when you have such ideas, I think a big way to look at it is partnering with people across an industry. So if you want to do something into manufacturing on your own, per se, you've got everything down, but you don't have the manufacturing assets, you don't have the infrastructure with you, and that's a huge amount of investment, and there's no one to really partner with you today. So why don't you look at someone who can do it for you? Okay, it is not the cheapest way, but at least it will get you going. But on the whole, you'll be able to package your product in a much better way in the direction you want it to go, rather than staying there and waiting for someone to come and help you. Right? So that's one thing that I would encourage people, and I have done it myself, to partner with people to kind of take you to a different stage, bring that awareness, and again, it helps you grow the mass, it becomes more popular, so it does catch a lot of eyes when that happens. And then it becomes far more easier for you to pitch your case and say, look, this is the funding I need, I have proven myself, and if I have this manufacturing all by myself, I'll be able to cut down on my costs, my profitability will go up, all the financials that you can show. Right? So I think that would be a good way of taking it forward.
Okay. Now, one of the main topics of this particular event was what's the road ahead, right? And the opportunities ahead. So, maybe opportunities ahead for Sudarshan or MTD products or the agri-tech industry in general.
Okay. I'll restrict myself to the agriculture domain for now, because that's where I have seen a lot of things in my life. Where it is heading is like this, because as I mentioned earlier, there is a tremendous labor shortage and there is a lot of requirement for mechanization trends. But at the same time, there is increasing awareness of how safe my food is. Okay, so therefore, a lot of sprouting of organic companies are coming. They are coming up with a lot of product, but exactly, does anyone really know, is it still organic? They are claiming it to be organic, but how authentic it is? We don't know that. Right, so today we are seeing an alternative, so people are jumping into it, even if it's priced at probably 3 or 4 times what the regular product is. So the way ahead is to make your food safe. Now, a lot of corporates are getting into it. Okay, for example, Pepsi came into India to sell their Lays. They have contract farming with farmers in Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. They give the seeds, they give all the inputs, okay, and they sometimes recommend technologies for better efficiency in their farming, and at the same time they promise the output as well. So the farmer is best assured, I just have to be a contract manufacturer here. I get my inputs and the outputs are taken at a set price. So I know what my profits are going to be at the end of the year when I start the business. So a lot of farmers have engaged in this concept, and this works successfully because of economies of scale. It does not happen when you have smaller marginal farmers, which is predominant in India. You have 70 to 75% of the farmers who are small and marginal, which means they own less than 5 acres of land. Okay. So these corporates are coming in to consolidate these farmers and say, look, you've just got to manage your farm, break the boundaries. I'll tell you what you will be given and what you need to be giving you. As long as that is done, these guys are safe, and then they find. Generally, a lot of farmers contract that farm to their own friends or the village mukhya or someone who's there in the village. He manages the entire farm for the farmers, and these guys move to the cities and get into some job of their own liking. So the future here is, as entrepreneurs, we need to kind of work towards making the food we consume safe, encourage mechanization, because mechanization does not add poison to the soil. We need to get out of this system of using excess chemicals, pass on the right knowledge to the farmers. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startups are there in India who are working towards helping small farmers with the knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. How much should be used on your farm to be safe, how much should not be used. To the extent that they are using drones and geospace technology to tell them, look, this is your profile of land. and this is the place which is healthy, and this is the place which is not very healthy. So this is how you need to redesign or re-architect your land, do the leveling, bring in irrigation solutions. So I think that's where we need to be going in terms of trying to consolidate lands, bring in the scale, and given the right input to the farmer, encourage him to get into more organic type of farming, because that is where his costs are actually low. Although the prices that we're paying is very high, but the reality is that he does not spend so much as he needs to do for inorganic farming. Okay? The costs are going to be low, his land is going to be far safer because it will yield results even to his next generation. If it continues this way, possibly his son may not use this land. It's going to be so poisonous that he cannot really cultivate anything. And of late, you've seen a lot of exports happening. Okay, we should encourage farmers to sell it to the domestic people and pay the price. We spend a lot of money elsewhere, and we should possibly spend money to encourage farmers to build and cultivate organic produce and sell it to the local market rather than export. So I think that's the way forward is huge and potential is really, really big. It's just that we entrepreneurs like us we need to take that step forward, be bold, and enter the space and encourage farmers and our own community, because we are feeding our own children. We would not want to feed our children something which is not good for their health, right? And there's enough articles online to tell you what are the negative effects of what we are consuming today. Okay? And it's rampant more in India because the regulations are not very strong; they are poor. So that's where I see great opportunity.
So I'm still going to restrict myself to those questions. Second last question, of course. Thank you again for being here on the Saturday. So, work-life balance. Many of us keep facing that challenge with friends, family, everyone. How do you manage work-life balance? Because being an entrepreneur is no easy task, right? I mean, you're 100% invested in what you're doing. So, your recommendations based on work-life balance.
It goes back to your basics. What am I working for? Am I working for someone? Am I working for my family? So if my basics is I'm doing it for my own livelihood, for my own family, then I would spend time with family. Right? For me, it's my family. That's my priority one. Right? So I make it a point to get back home at 6 o'clock every day. Right? Spend time with the children because that is the time they need you. And again, if I go back to my own scriptural view, you need to be around with your children until they're at least 6 years, sometimes even 12 years. Okay, that's the time they're growing. So if I'm not able to make my family good, what good am I to make my society good? Right? So you need to pay attention to your family, and that's where your own goodness or your own success starts. Good family gives you the needful environment and grounding to be able to succeed in the outside world. If you don't have that, that's not going to give you the needful mental peace to be able to be successful outside. So I see that more as a necessity than a work-life balance per se. It should be a part of one's discipline.
That's a lovely insight. So thank you for that. And final question: inspirational figures. We get asked in school. Who's your inspirational figure? We say Steve Jobs, Sachin Tendulkar. Now many would even say their mothers, fathers, and so on and so forth. And it used to be pretty difficult back then to know about and learn about them. But with the advent of internet and access, you can find out so much more. And I believe one of the best things is books, where you can read about the success stories and stuff like that, or anything, articles, white papers. So, thank you for sharing Good to Great. That's definitely something I'm going to be reading soon. So, any other books that you would recommend for someone to really be able to learn a lot from others' experience?
There's this book I read recently. It's a book called Catalyst. This is by Chandramouli Venkatesan. He was heading Cadbury India. I know which company even now, but that's a good. It's just quick read. I think you can spend a couple of hours and finish the book. So that's a good book which teaches you about how you need to spend your time in your career and what is important, what is not important. And then there is a book called Biology of Belief. Okay. So for people who are demotivated, okay, they really don't know where things are going, you need to understand that you've got an equipment called the mind, which is a magical, it's like a magic stick that you have for your own. Alright, so you can wave it either ways. It can either make you or it can destroy you. So, right? That will be helpful for you. So this is a book by Bruce Lipton, if I remember well. biology of belief is about the scientific insight about how your belief systems can make your body function and the outside world help you. Alright? Aftermath of that is things like The Secret book, which talks about law of attraction and a lot of things that happens. But if you go back to the scriptures, it talks about a phrase called Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati, which means what you believe or what you think is what comes. So it's like every thought that runs in your mind is like a signal that you're shooting out to the environment. So you need to be very careful in developing your thought, controlling your thought, and directing it in the right way. So I think this book called Biology of Belief will give you the insight and make you believe in what I'm really saying and how important the management of thought is and how does your body really function and reacts to it to the extent that it can heal you when you have diseases right from a simple headache to maybe even cancer. Okay, and an extension of that is I think it's called Molecules of Emotion. Okay, that's another book which goes hand in hand with this book called Biology of Belief. So let us understand ourselves first before we perform in the outside world and really understand how powerful the equipment we have as a human body. It's a real gift. Okay, so it's up to us to harness the power that we have within ourselves. So these books will be really helpful in keeping ourselves engaged and stay positive, motivated, and go forward.
Great, thank you so much, Sudarshan, for all the insight and all the advice and real-time experience you've been able to impart and share with us today. So thank you again, and let's give a big round of applause to Sudarshan for coming.